My dad missed every big moment in my life, until the one that mattered most. I never expected my dad to show up. He never did. Not for my graduation, my engagement, or my baby shower. I stopped letting myself hope for it a long time ago. After he lost his leg in a car accident when I was 10, he refused to drive. My mom said it was the scariest moment of his life since I was in the car with him, and we both just needed to be patient. She had always been the one to take him places, but after she died, he stopped going anywhere far. He hated the prosthetic she got him, called it a plastic excuse for a leg, and let his world shrink until it was just his excuses. When I got married, he said the flights were too expensive, and driving wasn't an option, so my uncle walked me down the aisle instead. It hurt, but I told myself I was used to it. Now, in the hospital, about to have my first child, I knew better than to expect anything different. When I called to tell him, I heard the hesitation in his voice, the quiet calculation of how much an Uber would cost, the same distant concern that never translated into action. He muttered something about how it was a long drive. I told him it was okay, I would be fine alone, and I meant it, because I had to mean it. My husband had already chosen a work conference over being here, deciding that since due dates weren't exact, it was a risk worth taking. It wasn't. The contractions started early, and now I was alone. Again. At first, everything was normal, but then the heart monitor started beeping too fast. Nurses rushed in, their faces suddenly serious. Someone told me to breathe. Someone else called for the doctor. Words like distress and emergency blurred together as they started prepping me for surgery. I barely had time to process it before they were moving my bed, wheeling me toward the operating room. My hands were shaking, and all I could think about was how much I wanted my mom. I wished for my husband, for my dad, anyone. Then I saw him, hobbling down the hallway, breathless, wearing the prosthetic he swore he never would. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating, but then his hand grabbed mine, strong and real. My heart pounded as I tried to process it. I managed to ask how much the Uber cost, but he just shook his head. He said there was no time. He drove. The man who hadn't touched a steering wheel in years, who let his fear dictate his life for so long, had gotten into a car and driven because I needed him. Before they took me into surgery, he said, "You're strong, just like your mom." His words stayed with me, looping through my mind, grounding me through the fear. When I woke up, he was beside me. He had stayed. He sat by the bassinet, looking down at my baby. I told him he could hold her, and he nodded, carefully lifting his granddaughter into his arms. He told me he was sorry for everything he had missed, for all the moments he wasn't there. Then he told me why. After my mom died, he thought it was better if he stayed away, that it was easier for me to move on without him weighing me down. He thought I was better off without a father who could barely stand to leave his house. But when I called, he realized he had been lying to himself. He hadn't been protecting me. He had been protecting himself from the guilt of showing up too late. And this time, he refused to be late. I told him he was here now, and that was what mattered. And for the first time in my life, it truly felt like it. Because this time, when I needed him, he came, and that changed everything.